Here we have a 1/3 scale, the Hired Man, I believe it's called, made from Paul Breisch castings. There is the B cast into the block, and there were some other numbers cast into the block. I will put those in the eBay ad, as I am going to sell this one. This is like the Breisch Associateds, or the full-scale Associateds. The Associateds in this area have a make and break ignition setup. This one has a spark plug with an ignition setup. That's what makes this different, the Hired Man, from the scale Associated. Flywheels are 6 1/4 inches. And on the stand, the engine weighs about, I think, somewhere around 26 pounds or so. I rigged up a really nice ignition system for this one. It's all contained, battery and everything, in this box. When you open this box, you're going to find that you have, from an RC airplane setup, you have 4 AA cell receiver pack. I'm including the charger for that in the sale. CDI ignition box, and an off and on switch. Instead of just a light showing that it's on, I put in a voltmeter. So you can see right now it's at 5.7 volts. So you will know when it gets down close to probably 4.5 volts, 4 1/4 volts. Going to want to disconnect this line here and hook up your charger. Make sure when any of these are hooked up that you do not reverse the polarity. This plug here is not keyed, and I don't know what's going to happen if this box were given reverse polarity. Should be okay, but I'm going to say you might burn it up. Just make sure your polarity is correctly lined up when you plug this plug back in going to the battery. The battery is velcroed in the lid, so you can take it out of here if you want to. Turn that off for a moment. Have a nice aluminum tank. Not real big in size, but I wanted it to be scale for the engine. You don't want some huge, ugly looking tank here. Holds just a little over an ounce or so, but this thing should run, I don't know, 45 minutes or so on the fuel that we put in here. This is a one-way check valve, which works out really good with setups like this, so that you have a constant flow of fuel to the carburetor. This is a shut-off valve here for the fuel. You really only need to have this turned out about 1 turn when you open it. Here's a spark plug wire in the boot. The ignition works by these points here. And when the points are closed, they're charging up the CDI unit, and it's when they open. That's when you get your spark. It's not when they close, it's when they open. So if you're messing with the timing on this thing, you can loosen these 4 cap screws up, and this slides back and forth on this push rod, and that will alter your timing. I have a mark here on the fuel setting. Let's see where we're at right now. Let's see where I have it. I'm going to turn it in. There's 1 turn. Not quite 2 turns. 1, 2. Setting this thing up so it runs kind of slow. A lot of people, you see videos on YouTube where people have these things running rather fast, and I like to try and keep it like scale speed and run it as slow as it can, which is kind of tricky with an engine like this. I have a guard that goes with it, crankshaft guard. I have it off today, so shame on me. You got your finger, and this is kind of, it's not sharp, but I think if you got your finger in here and this came down on it, That wouldn't be good. Could cut your finger off. So run it with the crank guard in place. I have it off right now to show the detail of things. I've got grease cups here, have grease in them. Turn them in a little bit, and that will send grease into the bearings. On lubrication, really is no lubrication for the wrist pin of the piston. Get some oil up in on that, because the drip oiler really isn't going to get oil up in on the wrist pin. Anything else that moves, put on some, you can use 1030 weight oil, is fine. Little oil hole here, but I have this greased. I have synthetic grease in there, so that should be good for quite some time. On the fuel, today I'm running, sometimes I use naphtha. I'm using this stuff that I got at Home Depot. It's ethanol free. It's 4-stroke fuel. I think 2-stroke fuel would work just fine, because I believe the 2-stroke fuel is 40-to-1, so you get some oil in with it. But with this straight fuel here for 4-stroke, I added in a little bit of castor oil. This can be picked up. This is for blending 2-stroke nitro motors. I think it smells really good. It smells cool. And since I was doing a bunch of tuning with this today, trying different carburetor settings, trying different timing and stuff, I was using, this doesn't come with it, but this is a starter cup here from this is a model airplane engine starter. And just because it was so stinking hot today, as far as flipping it over and stuff, I used this. And I might have to use this because I'm starting it here by one hand. But I'll try and start it by hand. But somebody criticized me on YouTube because I didn't use my hand to start the engine. But it just makes it so much easier when you're starting it and restarting it and trying setting something, or you have to take the plug out and clean it or whatever. On filling up the fuel here, just to show you what I use to make it easier, since the opening is not super big here for the fuel tank. I'll grab my other hand. I just use a baster here with a line on it, and at the end I have a piece of brass tubing. Of course, brass is good because you don't have to worry about any static here. The nice part about this is when you're filling it and squeezing the fuel in, I use the brass piece because it allows room for, sorry for the camera work there, allows room for the air to escape. You could shove this line in there, but there isn't any room for the air to escape out of the tank when you're filling it up. So yeah, I still have some fuel in there. So let's fire it up. Let's see if I can start it by hand here. Make that guy happy that keeps saying I should start the engines by hand, but when I'm holding the phone like this, it makes it a little difficult. So the ignition's on, got 5.7 volts. What I would normally do starting it by hand using both hands is I would get it to the top of the compression stroke. Oh, it wanted to fire already. Get it to the top of the compression stroke and then spin it over once by hand choking it. Suck some fuel up in. And then I could use both hands to spin it over. But let's spin it over now and see what we get. If not, I'm going to go right to the drill. Let me go to the drill because I don't want this video. So I put the starter cup in there. You know what? I'm trying to turn this the wrong way. There we go. I'm not going to start backwards. Again, I was trying to set this to run fairly slow. It's running a little faster now than what I had it before, but it is cold. The cylinder is cold. It's been sitting for a while. I like to get them when they just suck in once to the intake. But it's kind of tricky with the design of these carburetors. I'm not going to get into carburetor design here in the video, but there is no what I would call venturi in the carburetor, where it narrows down the airflow to flow over the jet and then widens back out again. If you really wanted to make this thing run as slow as possible, I would put a little venturi in here on either side of where the fuel comes out in the carburetor. Because there is no butterfly in here. It's just like having a carburetor that's wide open. So it's almost too big, too much airflow to get it to run real slow, because you're not going to get any fuel atomization. Here's for speed settings. You can adjust the spring weights here. And there's also a spring on the lockout mechanism here. And that's adjusted by this thumb screw there. Again, if you watch other videos, including the video on mini steam on this engine, you'll see how fast they run the engine. And it's much easier to get a small engine like this to run fast than it is to get it to run slower. And if I worked with this one and fussed over it a little bit more, I could get it to run a heck of a lot slower. So there you have it, before the video gets too long. Yep, see, we're still at 5.5 volts. Shut it off, and there you have it. A really, really nice Breisch, the hired man. Again, it comes with a charger. It comes with the guard. You'll see in the eBay ad, I have a picture of it with the crank guard on it, and it hooks around the little nut here for the drip oiler. Got a pulley. This gas tank I actually had for one of my quarter scale RC cars, but it looked perfect, I thought, on here as far as scale wise goes. And I think I'm about at my time limit here. Hopefully I won't have to split this video in two. That doesn't work too well with YouTube. And there you go. Should you have any questions, I have my email address listed below. Thanks for watching.